Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Living a Graceful Life. I'm Tracy Gelb, and I am so happy and excited this evening. I will be interviewing my mother, Lana Gelb. So it's a privilege and an honor, my best friend and mom, to be talking about balance and life as a balancing act. And she recently did a webinar on balance, and it's kind of a double play because it's balance, physical balance, staying balanced, as well as emotional, spiritual, all of the different components that we need to keep balanced. I would like to say welcome, Lana Gelb, to the show. So happy to have you. And I want to start with a couple of questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. When did you start getting interested in balance?
Oh, a long time ago. I'm going to say 41 years ago. I think that's correct. I was 35 years old, and I read an article about osteoporosis starting at 35 years old, which means loss of bone density. And I, in my head at that time, was not very savvy at all. And I thought that it was maybe around 50 or 60 that people started getting osteopenia or osteoporosis. And that shocked me. And I started really thinking about balance, because balance is really connected to bone density. And I started to research it at that point in time. So it's been a long time, and it's about time for me to do some webinars on it, because I've really been researching it for a while.
Good, that's great. And I know this last webinar was wonderful. We've had such great feedback from it, and people making different changes in their life, which is just the best feeling for both of us. I wanted to ask you a little bit. I know through my life, there's been different projects that I've seen. One of them was a vibration machine. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so in 2004, I was driving. I got a gig at Canyon Ranch in the Berkshires for the summer. And I also got a gig in Kentucky, where I was fortunate enough. I said to the person, my client, who was going to a tulip on a tulip cruise, she asked me to take care of her house and her boxer dog, and that she would get me some work there. So I decided to take my first and last road trip around the country. So I went to Kentucky for about 10 days and worked there. But then I went to the Berkshires in Massachusetts, in the Lenox area, and Canyon Ranch is there. And I had a small hairline fracture in my coccyx. And when I literally landed there, I couldn't get out of my car. I literally couldn't get out of my car. And I knew if I went there, I was going to teach 8 classes a day, and I couldn't move. I kind of hobbled to what they directed me to, the staff room, and they were all talking about this power plate. And I said, what is the power plate? And they said it's a body vibration machine, a whole body vibration machine. And I said, what does it do? And they said it heals. It helps with inflammation. And I said, oh, okay, I'm ready for that. So I went in the elevator, because I couldn't walk up and down stairs at that point. And I sat on their vibration machine, which was tucked away like in a basement. They didn't even showcase it. It just was like a hidden thing. And I sat on it. I didn't know what to do. No one there knew what to do. But I thought, I'm just going to press it on, and I'll put it on for 30 seconds. And I sat on it. And I got up, and it was about 50% less pain. And I said, wow. And I know more is not better. So I just relaxed, because I was only starting work the next day. And it was even better in the morning, a little bit better than that. So I went right away back to the machine, and I did it for 3 days. I increased the time. I did 45 seconds, then I did a minute. And by the 3rd day, the pain from that hairline fracture in my coccyx was gone. So I said, I have to work with this machine. I don't know what it does and why. I'm going to learn about it. And I discovered that that was the #1 modality in the world for bone density strengthening. So that was just even another aspect of it for me that was so exciting and so wonderful, because it's for prevention, and it also helps when there's already osteopenia and the beginnings of osteoporosis. So I started importing machines from Belgium and from Germany, and I went there to study and got certified there. And it really did change my life, because it's, I believe, and I have, as you know, a vibration machine in our home, and I use it and you use it, and it's great for inflammation, but it's also fantastic for balance. And it does, there are many studies that have been done that have shown that people improve their balance on that machine, not just the bone density, but their balance.
Oh, that's great. And the vibration machine is wonderful. We use it, and I used to have a smaller version when I lived with my sister. And she used to use it often, and I did as well. But when I moved here, we didn't have room for 2. And so we have the 1, which is wonderful. I think thinking about balance, I spoke today in my class. I teach a live class on Mondays at a wonderful community center in Plantation, Florida. And we were talking about balance and balancing act, which is one of the tools that we do in Ageless Grace. And I was thinking about the different stories that I hear about people when they fall, and what the very unfortunate consequences can possibly be. What are your feelings, Mom and Lana? What are your feelings about what can people do as you know, to prevent falls and prevent those types of things?
Well, you know, I had my first fall that I can remember. You know, I'm sure when I was 5 years old or 7 years old, I must have tripped and fallen playing and so on. But as an adult, a month ago. And it really made an impression on me, because 2 days later, I was presenting Life is a Balancing Act for Ageless Grace Retreat. And it really got me thinking about what happened. How did this happen to me? I teach balance all the time, and I show people how to do different things. And the first thing I believe in the whole balance equation is mindfulness. We need to really be mindful of every step we take. And people don't realize that when you walk, when you put one foot in front of the other, and you can try this now or later, you're actually balancing. So when your back foot comes off the floor and it goes forward, you are balancing. So every time you do that, you need to be conscious and aware of where your foot is planted. And yes, should you look at the horizon? Of course. And that's what I was doing at the time I fell. But I did not notice what was in front of my feet. So that's one main thing. And of course, they always tell you in different balance programs to make your house balance safe. You know, if you've got wires and you've got cords and you've got a slippery floor in your kitchen or in your bathroom, you need to make it, you know, clean it up so that there's no possibility of falling, because as you said, it's potentially deadly, because people end up in hospitals, and women are particularly susceptible because of our hips and because of our frame. And so we tend to break both the hip and the femur and parts of our spine when we fall. So if you have not the best bone density, that's even more reason to be more mindful. Of course, eyes are, and this is part of eyes, are very important in the balancing act. But we also know in Ageless Grace, and I'm sure you taught it in your class today, that we have 3 balance points that your brain needs to recognize. Everything you do, your brain needs to recognize. So we start with the 2nd and 3rd toe and also the big toe, and training it, especially barefoot. As I'm sitting now, I'm sitting barefoot and I'm sitting on my toes grabbing. I don't have to have my heel up, but I have it up and down. It's just automatic for me. The second balance point is your core, and people think it's just that little part of your belly. That used to be the case. Right now, it's from the top of your head right through to where you're sitting on the chair. Your entire trunk is your core. So you need to be able to move your core, even move with me if you can. Whoever is there, I can't see anyone, but I'm sure that there are people there, forward and backwards, forward flexion, doing all sorts of movements with your spine. And you don't, there are lots of people, like people with Parkinson's, who have rigidity, but they can move their spine a couple of inches. So they need to do that. And then thirdly, but not last, are your ears. And your ears have 3 ear canals in each ear. Your vestibular system, your equilibrium comes from your ears. So they have this liquid within the ears that have these little tiny, minute granules of bone actually in your liquid. And if you don't move your head sufficiently, and that doesn't mean jerking your head, just easy, move your head a little bit now. So while you're sitting, while you're sedentary, you can move your core and you can move your head. That keeps the liquid. But if you don't do it sufficiently, the liquid starts to congeal and become more solid. And that's the recipe for vertigo. That's what happened.
Thank you. That's good. And I have another quick one to do with everybody, which I've do with my students. You put your pinkies together when you're feeling this is incredibly good for vertigo 3 times a day for maybe about 60 seconds. I do it almost every class that I teach. So we're going through that part of balance. So now I'm going to talk a little bit, that's like the physical part, which is so important. I'm going to talk a little bit about balancing life as a balancing act. And this is something my mom and I speak a lot in my shows and just to different things, that we're both on a journey of, I would say, evolving and healing and growing, and we're doing it together, which is magical. But it's a balancing act. There are days that are a little different than others. Today was a little bit of an off balance day for both of us, which is, it can happen. We're human beings. And I did something for the first time in my whole life. I had a little anxiety while I was teaching. That's never happened to me before at this wonderful assisted living where I teach. Had a really, really not good night of sleep, which is highly unusual for me. So I did something in the car. I put on meditation as I was driving, and it's something that soothed me. I did some deep breathing with it, and it made me feel balanced by the time I arrived at my next class. So tell me, Lana, a couple of things what would be the top 3 things advice that you could give to somebody that's feeling a little off balance?
So the first thing is to recognize that you are feeling off balance and not just to react. That's the first thing, because when we're off balance emotionally and spiritually, we tend to react in some kind of rote way that our brain has gotten stuck in, if you will. and that we just revert to doing that because we don't know what else to do if we recognize it. So number one is recognizing it and becoming aware that something's going on in your being that is not keeping you balanced. You know, we have so many things to juggle in our lives. We've got our family and our work, some of us, and our social life and our pets and our just many, many, many balls to juggle. And when one of them is off, the rest are off. It's just like in your body. And I'll go back to the physical for a moment. And yes, we do balancing physical exercises like standing on one foot and doing things like that. But we can talk about that later. So if one thing is off in your system, it doesn't matter, even if it's like, say, your adrenals are off and they're fatigued, which happens to a lot of people. They just lose their energy from being so stressed all the time. And if you have that happening and you have adrenal fatigue, adrenals are part of your hormone system, your endocrine system. And then other things become off balance. So it's really important to check in with your body every morning. How am I feeling? Am I feeling good today? Am I feeling happy today? Am I feeling joyful, grateful? All these things, because that sets your balance barometer for the day. Once you can say some gratitude, wow, I'm just so grateful to be living in this home, or to be having my birds, or to be having my beautiful daughter, having coffee with her and the birds. It gives me the opportunity to really check what's going on with me today. And most people get so into life and everything, you know, start with the emails and the news and that bombardment and the overstimulation. So I'm going to say, and I know this will be drastic for some people, but wake up in the morning and do something that you love to do. You know, go outside, see the sunrise if you're up at that time, or take a little walk just outside your apartment or your home, or ground yourself in the grass, because it's so healing and balancing. Do some physical balancing to put your whole body and your emotions and your spirituality in balance. Meditate, like you said. If it's something you love to do, I'm saying do things that you enjoy doing that puts your body in balance. Arrange some flowers, or buy some flowers, or listen to some music, or do some ageless grace in the morning. You know, 10 minutes a day keeps the decline away. So those are my tips.
Those are good ones for sure. I think we run a support group, a cancer support group, every other Saturday, and we had a dynamic one this Saturday. And we have a woman who I always mention, she's turning 88 in October, and she's dynamic would be an understatement. And she gave us a list of things from the Daniel Amen Clinic of different things to help reduce stress. But, you know, reducing stress is a form of balancing. Yes. And what my mom, what Lana was speaking about is saying things that we're grateful for in the morning. So today, this month is National Happiness Month. So what I have been having my classes do is for 30 seconds as a cognitive challenge, but not so much as to think of everything that we're happy, everything that makes us happy for 30 seconds. And today I noticed something, and I was thinking about it. I was kind of going through, because I really do on this journey kind of understand myself a lot better than I have. I've been doing something where I don't charge my phones next to me. And if I do, I turn them off at night for the EMFs, and also for, you know, many reasons. I've watched many videos about it. And I was thinking this morning, I had the phones on. Not only did I have the phones on, I was looking at Facebook at 2 or 3 in the morning. So I think for me, I'm learning this thing of balance. I'm learning, instead of looking at Facebook, you know, 12 times a day, I look at it every other day. But sticking to commitments, like I made a commitment to myself to not have these phones on. I have two different phones for different reasons. And I was just thinking today as I'm going through the day, I even took a nap, and you can ask, I mean, I haven't taken a nap and I can't even remember it, just wore myself out. And I think that, you know, balance is something, and this is why this is kind of a, well, it's a timely, I don't think it's any coincidence, but this is a timely day to do it. It always seems like the day of my show, something unusual happens, but I can say one thing, and this is the truth. This is the absolute truth. And I told Lana that this morning. On any day that I have now in my life, any day that's not even, 100%, it's 1,000% better than my life 2 years ago, because of the balance that I found, because I'm no longer doing things in excess. And so I think this is just, a good topic. I'm so happy, to have you here. I have a few more questions.
Well, before you do, I'd like to add something. First of
Please.
all, I have an EMF protector that I'm wearing, and I do that. I have 4 different ones, and I just wear them with different outfits. So this is a big thing in terms of toxins put us out of balance. So it's really important for us to think about stuff like that. The other thing is, it's not just National Happiness Month, it's National Wellness Month. So one of the things that I go on my hobby horse about, and everybody knows that, is language. We need to say things that no matter what is happening to us physically, what is happening to us balance-wise, we need to say affirmations. And maybe that's something you can start in your morning ritual, for example, is I am balanced. I am the tree of life. I am well. I am healthy. I am in progress, doing some progress right now. I'm going forward. I hear so many of my clients, and I'm working with some wonderful clients at the moment that I'm so really excited about, with some brain issues. And one of the first things that I'm doing with them is their language, because once you affirm all the time that something is wrong or you don't feel good, even if you don't feel good, you can trick your brain. Your brain doesn't know if you're really feeling good or not. They don't know your feelings. So, you can produce some good serotonin and endorphins just by saying, I feel great, when you're feeling crappy. You can do that and trick your brain. Your brain doesn't know the difference. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that.
No, it's true. And we do have something in Ageless Grace called Breathe Out Loud, where we do, different words and breathing, but we do positive affirmations. And I do need to definitely do that more. I think that's such an important thing. I didn't realize in many years that, the things that we say to ourselves are more powerful than anything anyone else can say. And, and I do realize it now, like when the day started, when I was feeling a little off for the rest of the day, I kind of was affirming it like, oh, I'm just feeling off, instead of me just saying to myself, well, I wasn't feeling great this morning because I didn't sleep. I was on my phone on Facebook. I watched a scary Law and Order SVU. And I did things that I know were not going to serve me well instead of making it a great day, which it's always, and I really mean this. Any day that we get to wake up is a great day that we get to be here. So that's that's what I tell my students this at the assisted living and memory care, when I sing things to them, or we sing, I say, the best news of the day is we got to be here together, and it is. And I think what you're saying is 1,000%. If we all speak to ourselves the way we speak to the people that we love the most, or say the things to them, like to our pets, or to our children, our parents, our friends, say those things to ourselves, it makes it a wonderful day, and it makes it a wonderful balanced life, because that's a big part of balance is, really like how we feel about ourselves.
And to add to that, you're talking about your sleep. Sleep is one of the most important things to balance your life. my busiest days are Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So by Sunday night, I worked yesterday from 8:45 in the morning, driving quite a fair distance and going to various different clients and classes. And I got back home at 5 o'clock and I was exhausted. I was in bed at 8:15 last night and I slept for 9 hours solidly. So I woke up this morning feeling a little groggy, but also feeling like very rested. But then Monday is also a day that I have long drives and dance classes and stuff like that. So I was tired when I came home. I too had a nap the same time as Tracy, and I don't do that very often either, but all the research is saying it's really excellent to have a nap, like an hour or so. So that's another thing that I would recommend now, because the research is strong on that for people who are feeling out of balance, and especially if you've had a bad night or a series of not restful sleep, that would be something to consider.
That's good. That is absolutely true. I saw something on an interview recently. This is a gentleman that I follow named Jay Shetty. I was mentioning him. He was a former monk, an incredible man. He just interviewed President Biden recently. He's unbelievable people he's interviewed, from everyone from Joe Dispenza to Oprah Winfrey to I mean, you name it. And he asks a couple questions as the interview winds down. So I want to ask you two. One is, what is the worst advice that you have ever been given?
That's a hard one. I'm thinking that when I was a child and when I had flat feet, every doctor would tell me that I would never be able to do anything athletic. And if anybody on this Zoom knows me, they know that I've been an athlete all my life. And so that was bad advice, because I have a real issue with people, and doctors in particular, determining the fate of people. I could have, as a 9-year-old or 10-year-old or 12-year-old, said, okay, well, I'm not going to do any dancing, and I'm not going to do any swimming, and I'm not going to do anything because I'm not going to be good at it. So that was bad advice.
So last question, what would you say is the best advice that you've ever been given?
Oh, I think that I've had some mentors who have taught me to stay positive no matter what life brings me. Because I know, and I've had several people tell me that, just stay positive. You're going to get challenges in your life. Things are going to happen in your life. You're going to get all kinds of emotional stress and grief and challenges. And I've had lots and lots of challenges and trauma in my life. But I do make a point of having that in my head, that, just stay positive, stay positive. And I hope that comes across. Yes,
it definitely does. I just want to say thank you for the wonderful interview and for taking your time, because she's the hardest working person I've ever met in my life. And I mean that sincerely. And we both do Ageless Grace. Lana does a lot of different dancing and things now, but we both do that. It's this beautiful program that has brought us here this evening. So we thank Denise Medved, always our friend and mentor, and one in a billion. And if you would like to join me, it used to be us, but now me on Sundays you can email me at my full name, Tracy Gelb @hotmail.com. I do a complimentary class at noon Eastern time, and you will get to learn about Ageless Grace, the 21 wonderful tools activating all 5 functions of the brain. And I just want to thank everybody for the support. This went by fast. Thank you, Lana. Appreciate it.
Well, I want to thank you so much for inviting me to be your guest again. And it's always a pleasure working with you. I love working with you, and I love you so much, and thank you.
Thank you. I love you so much. Thank you.